I have nothing to lose. It's impossible to fire federal employees. I don't know.
I feel like I'm gonna get James to accuse here.
I work for the State Department. It's impossible to fire federal employees. I don't know.
Donald J. Trump is now president of the United States.
Just everything, every level.
Good evening and welcome to Tucker Carlson Tonight. All of Washington is girding for next Monday, 6 days from now. That's when Palo Alto psychology professor Christine Blasey Ford has been invited to testify on Capitol Hill about the assault that she says she suffered at the hands of Supreme Court nominee Brett Kavanaugh sometime around 1982. Now, both Republicans and Democrats say they want Ford to testify on the Hill, though no one has explained exactly what the rest of us could possibly learn from that. Ford says she has already recounted all that she can remember. The details at this point are thin, including when and where that assault allegedly took place. Brett Kavanaugh, for his part, has denied that any of it ever happened. And so is his high school friend Mark Judge, whom Ford claims was also there that night. So that's where we are. That's the sum total of what we know. And it's still a matter of she said, they said. Without a lot more evidence, it is hard to see anybody proving anything, regardless of how many hearings are held. But that has not stopped leading Democrats from reaching a firm conclusion in this case. How do they know for certain what happened 36 years ago? Well, because Brett Kavanaugh is a man. Therefore, he is guilty. All men are guilty. It's the Y chromosome. Watch as Hawaii Senator and noted geneticist Mazie Hirono explains it.
Not only do women like Dr. Ford, who bravely comes forward, need to be heard, but they need to be believed. Guess who's perpetuating all of these kinds of actions? It's the men in this country. And I just want to say to the men in this country, just shut up and step up. Do the right thing for a change.
Did you catch that? It's not just Brett Kavanaugh who's guilty. It's, quote, the men of this country, every single one of them, because they're men. Christine Ford, meanwhile, is telling the truth because she's a woman. She's female. You must believe her. That's a command from a United States senator. It's not optional. It's mandatory. So repeat after Mazie Hirono. Men always lie. Women never do. One sex is evil. The other is holy. That's the catechism of the Church of Late-Stage Feminism. Does anyone actually believe this nonsense? Of course not, because it's ridiculous. It's also divisive and crazy. Virtue is not restricted to a single gender, or for that matter, to a single race. And for a time, it seemed like we had moved past ideas like those. They're corrosive. But now they're back in force. They're the inevitable terminus of identity politics. So because the left has already decided conclusively what happened in 1982, further evidence is irrelevant. As several Democrats explained today, there is nothing Brett Kavanaugh could do to prove his innocence. Senator Tim Kaine of Virginia, for example, was asked how exactly Kavanaugh might clear his name. The senator's reply, quote, that's kind of very hypothetical. Very hypothetical? Well, it's not very hypothetical to Brett Kavanaugh and his wife and their daughters. Imagine you were accused of a sex crime and then informed by a lawmaker that there was really no way you could beat the charge, no matter what evidence you presented. You could never be declared innocent except in some, quote, very hypothetical way. How would you respond to that? You'd probably wonder what country you were living in. Definitely not America. These are the Democratic Party's new standards, and it goes without saying they are highly subjective. They're not applied to everyone. It depends entirely on how useful you are. Senator Ted Kennedy drove his Oldsmobile off a bridge with a young woman inside. He fled the scene and left her, but he never summoned help. He didn't want the DUI arrest. The young woman Kennedy
All right, welcome to the Patriot Hour here for Tuesday, September 18th, 2018. I am Michael, your host. If you're new to the channel, thanks for stopping in. Thanks for joining us. We got Ben here with us this evening, so we'll get right into it. We're just going to look for some Q posts, anything new from the Q, and go over what we just heard there. Let me see if I can get him up here. All right. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can. How you guys doing tonight? Excuse me.
All right.
Excited to be here on the old Patriot Hour tonight. See what's going over. Very, very awesome intro, by the way. Crazy what the left is trying to pull these days. And they're still trying to think they can get away with it.
All right. Yeah, no, exactly. Brett Kavanaugh, we're talking 1982, 36 years ago, they said. I was reading an article earlier, and he was 17, and the girl was 15. And one of the comments underneath this article, and somebody's like, it doesn't look good. She was 15, he was 17. Well, that's like high school. That's like the typical sophomore dating the senior or junior dating the senior.
Both minors. Yeah.
Yeah. And typically things that if anything would have been actual happen, God, I'm not saying that this guy didn't do this, but if it did and been reported back then, they were both underage. Would he have been tried as an adult, this or that? Who knows? But, not defending it at, if it happened, we're just saying, wow, what a time. And back then that would have, you're a minor. If it would have stayed minor, those records would be sealed. Here they are just all these years later wanting to talk about something that there was never no charge of, and you have to go back to when how old were you? 17. She was 15. Well, that's inappropriate right there, you being 17 and 15. When you're 17 or 16, yeah. What do you date, You date, I'm not saying
exactly.
You date, So, folks, you got to keep that in mind. High school, freshmen, all the way to seniors, and there's this age that's in there. It's typically like 14 all the way. Yeah, I get sometimes a senior will be 19 or pushing 20. So, it gets a little crazy.
No, but it's interesting how the wheels of rhetoric are turning when it comes to his nomination. The White House has been fully behind him, everything, and it's funny because Tucker Carlson said, so here's an allegation that's been brought to you. Of course, we all know it's felonious, it's untrue. I mean, really, something that happened 36 years ago, and her memory is precise. Everybody who has half a brain knows that over time memories fade. It's all one-sided. And it's like, so this is being trumped up. It's funny. It's it's being brought to the forefront as a device to bring down his integrity, because if he can do that then and get away with it, what is he going to do as a as a Supreme Court judge? And Q told us on post 2199, Panic in DC, D's offering to kill sexual assault allegation versus Judge Kavanaugh in exchange for immediate pullback of D class. Judge Kavanaugh will be confirmed regardless. Q. So I think that's pretty clear that it's still going where it needs to go, and they're just doing everything they can, pulling all the tricks out of the bag. And you see that one lady blaming all men, Tucker Carlson's hilarious. So if you have a Y chromosome, then immediately you're guilty. You are a rapist, immediately.
Well, and I don't hate to take it back this far, and people can be like, well, it was a different time, they're moving forward. But it's like when Bill Clinton was president and had these same allegations coming out, with many women, they did the same stuff. They denied and didn't want to, there were some of these things were just a few years old and pretty fresh, and there wasn't the same kind of rhetoric out of the left's mouth back then, that every woman needs to be heard and then right away believed, and they're guilty instantly. That's
yes.
This hadn't happened to them, you know, that's the whole funny thing. It's like only when he gets to this position and it's really all over the TV does all of a sudden somebody come forward. Why? To stop him now? Well, it rehashed some memories, maybe? Is that what it is? Because of the limelight?
Well, I think people got to understand that he's been a district court judge.
Yeah,
he's been. He's been. You don't just get to dance around at the lower levels of being a judge and not have a background check many a times. Like, being a Supreme Court judge nominee, this isn't. You don't just out of the blue like how Obama came in and he came from nowhere and then became president. You know, it doesn't. You know, it doesn't happen like that in the real world unless you're getting the powers that be having your back, if you know what I'm saying. But
no,
it's like people don't understand. He's been so vetted. He's been researched. He's been, you know, in the limelight for at least 12 years, being groomed for the Supreme Court. You know,
well,
so
and they said that these
everything
people
he's done.
had this. They had this in their, like, one of the ladies on the Democratic side, I can't remember who, that just forwarded this to the FBI for to look into, that they've had this. They've been sitting on it. Like, they weren't going to use it unless they had to. It's like all these little things they have. What else do they have? It's like, this is really desperate. We'll only do this in the final hour if we have to. And that's what they're pushing now. You know, it's like a stall move, a holdup. They want things to be weighted until after the midterm. They don't want any. It's getting funny. I get it. We're following it. I just did a check for the Q updates, folks, and there isn't anything. I'll prove it to you, just so you know. Do one more here. But yeah, right on with his vetted. You know, it's like it's all been done. It's Trump kind of released that when he was running his list. So this Kavanaugh name's been on it. He was that transparent, saying, if I win, here's my Supreme Court picks. And he had a list of like 8 people's names on it. So people could have been bitching back then, you know, way back then.
All 8 of those people been, you know, background checks, highly, you know, been picked through with a fine-tooth comb in their past. What are you doing? And these are the people who are like, you know, he's a coach. Was he a volleyball coach, or he's his daughter's coach or whatnot? I mean, it's funny, just to become a coach, you gotta have a background check, and that background check checks criminal, federal. That's just for being a coach. And here, this guy's, you know, one of our judges, and he's been doing it for 12 plus years in the higher level. Now he's going for the highest level, and then the other same individuals, 7 of them. Don't you think they've been, you know, background checked and rechecked and checked and rechecked just to get on the list to hopefully be nominated? I mean, it's you know, it's like the generals in the military. You don't just become a 4-star general overnight and just go there and, hey guys, you got to know what's going on, and you have to pass many clearances and have taken many of certifications and blah blah blah. You don't just get to this spot and all of a sudden
that's
we've
next.
been holding on to
All right. I was just trying to get that queued up. Somehow it shot over.
No, I like it. I
was just saying, since there's no new queue, there's one other spot in the Tucker that we can go over and check out. It's about the D class.
Well, a year ago, the Washington Post spoke for pretty much the entire press corps, including us, by the way, when it adopted a new slogan, "Democracy dies in darkness." And it does. Well, apparently the president, who doesn't like the Washington Post, agrees with the slogan. So yesterday he called for the declassification of documents related to the Russia investigation. That would include the Carter Page FISA warrant application. President Trump said this about it today.
I want total transparency. This is a witch hunt. Republicans are seeing it. The Democrats know it's a witch hunt too, but they don't want to admit it because that's not good politics for them. The things that have been found over the last couple of weeks about text messages back and forth are a disgrace to our nation. We should open it up for people to see.
So if Obama had said that, or George W. Bush for that matter.
See, now I agree with that. I'm sure.
Yo, 100%. I mean, yeah, that's it. It's you can see how we do need to see this stuff to really understand, what's going on.
Yeah, and we've talked about before shows before the last several weeks about this. It's like it almost seems like some of these politicians, some of these people on TV, they've seen both sides. They've seen the corruption. They've got to look at all the text messages unredacted, and they know the real answer. But since a majority of the people don't, they play into that, and they still come on TV. They still argue like almost like a shady lawyer. Like they know their client's guilty, but they're just going to defend it anyway because you don't know that they did it. And until that final evidence comes out, people will not quit playing their final hand, their last grasp at lying and just keeping it from you because you don't know yet. And until we know, and they'll play it all along. I mean, they'll argue with that other person hiddenly that, well, they don't know yet. And that's...
Oh, they definitely play into our ignorance of the subject matter. I mean, if we only have part of the information, then our educated guess can only be a partly educated guess. But there's no two ways around it. And they know that. And just like you said, they play into that. I mean, it's sickening.
And that's all Trump's doing. It's not everyone's like he's ruining an investigation or it's for political purposes. I don't get it. If you're coming at him and we don't have all the facts and it seems kind of lie-ish, just release stuff and then there's no lying. That's political. It's going to ruin all this stuff they're claiming, national secrets, trades of the secret people. Well, we've been letting them operate without all the oversight and D-class, and they've been abusing it. That's the whole picture here that we're getting at. So let's finish up what he's saying on this.
Pretty much everyone would nod in agreement. Of course, sunlight is the disinfectant that we all want. But things have changed, and the new organizing principle of the left is that everything Trump does is bad, so the press are now racing to condemn transparency as a threat to the republic.
This president shatters so many norms that it's sometimes hard for people to understand when he does something that's truly damaging. This is one of those times.
The president declassifying material, despite the fact that he was begged by the intelligence community not to do that. Any commander-in-chief who did care would listen to all of his intel agents.
Can anyone stop President Trump from doing this? I mean, he is arbitrarily releasing part of a FISA warrant. You can't say that this isn't politically motivated because it doesn't make sense.
Journalists staying up late, making sure you don't get more information about what your government is doing. Never thought I'd live to see that. And then former CIA Director John Brennan went even further. He's now a cable news yapper, by the way. He said that democracy is actually defined by FBI agents refusing to obey the elected president for whom they work. Watch.
If Mr. Trump and the White House does not relent, well, then I think they have some decisions to make, whether or not they're going to just not follow that direction and be fired, or to resign. But if they really believe that this is going to have serious impact on our national security, law enforcement, and judicial process, they have an obligation, since they took an oath of office to the Constitution of the United States, not to Mr. Trump, to uphold their responsibilities and their agency and department's authorities.
Those of us
Wow. Really?
He tried to flip the script real bad. Well,
that
I wonder
was
who the
actually
commander
him telling
in chief
them
is.
to do that.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Well, if you actually would read the Constitution and understand it a little bit and know who the commander in chief is, wow. This is this is just yet again of where the disinformation and the cog deaf, our little cognitive little bit of cognitive dissonance is going to be kicked into play, and how they're saying, excuse me, the FBI doesn't have to report to the individual like their boss because they don't think it's constitutionally correct. Like what this isn't the French Constitution. This is the United States Constitution. I don't know what one you're talking about here. So it's wow.
Yeah, no, it's a real sad day, folks, when, even some of these text messages between former lover Peter Strzok and Lisa Page, they had blanketed under national security. There were FOIA requests coming in from Tom Fitton over at Judicial Watch. Great group of guys over there doing it since the 90s. Oh, yes. They've attacked Bill Clinton back then, starting with him into Bush. They did a lot of stuff against Bush to get stuff requested and looked at, expose some of his misdealings and doings into Obama, and now, they're watching Trump. But right now, it's literally all the stuff that was from the last administration dealing with Trump and how they were treating him. But anyway, they were blocked, saying that this was under national security and they couldn't release it. And they took a judge to sue the DOJ, and then they finally awarded. The judge said, yeah, no, release it. And these texts are doing nothing to do with national security. They're just showing two corrupt people that were plotting a plan to take down the guy running. And then after he won, a plan to sabotage that, and now they're, well, we removed him. We removed this guy, Ben, he's out of there. Don't worry about him. Well, unfortunately, a lot of this, he already did a whole investigation over Hillary while he was corrupt and these text messaging things were going on. That's over with. Never found guilty of clear crimes that are just sitting there. Like, they didn't have to go dig for and spend a bunch of taxpayers' dollars to find crimes that Hillary did.
Oh, no.
They were there. They could have walked in their office and tripped over a couple of crimes and barrel rolled and came up with a bag full. But they didn't want that. They wanted to now go on a search hunt, a witch hunt, like Trump likes to call it. And they haven't found nothing in 2 years. And if they do find something, oh my God, are they going to run with it and push the full extent of the law against it? Because they want there to be something. When they had, if they were just justice like they're supposed to be, folks, they would have went after Hillary. And then we could be backing this one if it was legit. But the guy that did the Hillary one, the guy that started the Trump one, or had a huge impact in it, Peter Strzok, leading agent, is fired now. And you're going to find more text talking about them trying to implement this whole thing that he did, this whole fake Russia investigation. And everyone's going to be like, well, we got him out of there. He's gone. But his legacy lives on. What he started is still unfolding.
Yes, exactly the sore that is still festering that needs to be cleaned, and because you're right though, it's like when they blanket things under national security, it's like that can't be the magic wand that they just wave over whatever thing they want to go away, and like, okay, this is national security until it and these texts are going to come out, and that's why I agree 100% with the president when he says it is critical that these things become public and that our nation becomes aware of what is happening and how these people are communicating and abusing literally the power that their position gives them, and it's almost like we give the police officers in your local area, we understand that there's authority given to them to be able to serve and protect. That's their two main functions, is to serve and protect the public. And if we didn't give them that authority, and we all have that respect of that authority, and there's a fine line they have to walk line. And a politician, the president, any position has that same exact type of trust and respect. And of course, Trump said it many times, with this witch hunt happening, trust is totally gone. And so when we have transparency of what they've been texting and how they've been conspiring, because a conspiracy takes two or more people to conspire together, and that's exactly what they did. And you can't use that sword of justice, if you will, or that sword of punishment against the very thing that is designed to further America's justice. I mean, don't they always say it's a blind lady holding scales? Yeah.
And like Hillary was bashing this Kavanaugh last weekend with upholding the Constitution. Like, she was literally putting that out there, and we went over it in a video, folks.
Gosh,
like,
yes, it was
that.
Wow.
Let's just pull that up real quick. We'll finish this episode on her crap. literally.
Because it literally, I mean, how can you bash it and say, how dare he go with the Constitution and not his own feelings? Like, that's why he's supposed to be there.
Exactly what we kind of want, folks.
Yes.
All right, so we'll jump in here real quick. I gotta find it, so give me a second.
It's the evil company, folks, so deal with us. We get a little sick, you know, getting into this part of the dark web.
Yeah, say a little prayer and wipe off you know.
Yeah, I know I'm screaming. Look at that. Yeah, she's it's very hard. We do this for you guys, getting in here and trying to find this video just because it's...
So here's where it starts. In sum, Kavanaugh doesn't think judges consider public safety or allow common sense gun laws. Meanwhile, 96 Americans are killed with guns every day. Gun bans, gun regulations. Judge Kavanaugh dissented when the D.C. Appeals Court ruled in 2011 that the city should ban semi-automatic rifles and require handgun registration. He argued that court shouldn't consider the public safety benefits of gun laws. Our task is simply to apply the Constitution. Gun bans and gun regulations that are not long-standing or sufficiently rooted in the text, history, and tradition are not consistent with the Second Amendment individual right, he added. And she's putting that up there to literally think that people would be like, yeah, this guy, you know, because
I can't believe he's saying that.
Yeah, because we got a bunch of Supreme Courts that have been opposite of Constitution. Roe versus Wade, you know, these things that they're really just... Like, we've gotten far away from people upholding the Constitution, so now it's almost like a bad thing. We're going to have somebody. That's her weapon. It's like, we're going to have somebody coming back up in here upholding the Constitution again, folks. Is that what you want?
Yeah, because what happens... Yeah, you know, what happens is the most judges, they take case precedents. And so if there's a case between these two people coming forward or this subject versus whatever, they're going to look at, is there any other case that was ever like this that a judge or a panel made a ruling on that I can maybe reference for maybe a hearsay towards this evidence here? And the problem is when you have these crooked politicians getting these crooked judges in, they'll make a very crooked ruling on something that's very gray and very hazy, and then what they'll do is from there on forward, every other crooked judge will use that crooked false case as a state of precedence for cases to come, and they won't necessarily rely on the Constitution because this case will take precedence, and they're all get together and say, yeah, that sounds good. It's precedence. Yeah, he said it. We said it. This is the way we do things. And to have somebody like Judge Kavanaugh come in there and says, I strictly ruled number one from the Constitution and then number two from precedence. So if all of his cases are based on the Constitution and he rules off his case precedences off the Constitution, they don't like that because that's going to say the Second Amendment does just because you don't like what the way the gun looks like, you can't ban all semi-automatic rifles because they're thinking, oh, all the evil guns, like that's like almost every rifle that every individual owns.
Yeah.
So it's insanity.
Anytime you take a gun and point it at somebody else and shoot it, it is now an assault weapon. You just assaulted somebody with it. You take a bat, a knife, with your fist. That's why when you punch somebody, they charge you with assault. You assaulted them. So anything, folks, anything that you turn on somebody else is in a form of an attack, I would imagine.
There's verbal assault. There's physical assault. There's all forms.
You verbally assaulted me. You physically assaulted me. You know, it doesn't take a gun to do that. Those are just word porn. Fancy
and
word porn.
Very much so. I mean, I think Judge Kavanaugh also stated that when they were going over this, I think this particular one, they were questioning on him. He had to add, I believe it was in the early 30s or late 30s, that they banned machine gun use in America. You as a civilian, you can't own a machine gun, which is considered a fully automatic rifle or pistol. Now, obviously, if you're a dealer and you get the license and you get the stamp and you pay all your taxes for it, yes, you can own and operate a fully machine gun, blah blah blah. But you can't actually own a 60 cal, a 50 cal, fully auto, or maybe a 50 cal, but not like a 60 cal or like some of these big, depleted uranium tipped. You can't get military weaponry legally. That law had been passed, and so I think he was very clear to state that. Well, I think it was the senator who was trying to give a little word porn to him. He shut her down very clearly, was saying that it's the Machine Gun Act, or I don't remember what act it was,
but yeah,
very clearly stated
ban,
that.
Yeah, that's just, again, people not knowing their facts. So, but all right, we are at the 30-minute mark. We're going to shut this down, folks. We had Ben here. We're always appreciative when he joins in, has the time to join in with us. I think he's going to be in studio later this week, and we're going to pull off a couple of great episodes. We'll have some great material lined up, and we're gonna streamline you some red pill for sure. So, any closing thoughts on Judge Kavanaugh, the whole 36-year, fourth quarter kind of Hail Mary?
Yeah. Oh, it's definitely a Hail Mary, brother. It's definitely a Hail Mary from the lefts, and it's coming out. And I'll support anybody who supports the Constitution. I mean, it's pretty basic. If you can't see this as just a bunch of cannon fodder during this battle, then you need to keep on watching some maybe earlier episodes and figure out what's happening, and get caught up, because this is what is it, bread and circus. This is cannon fodder. This dog and pony show. This is all this is, and you got to see past that to what's really happening.
All right, you heard it there from Ben. Folks, this is a Patriot Hour. We're glad you tuned in this evening. Again, if you're new to the channel, please subscribe, like, share, comment. Take a look in the description box. Take a look in the comment section. So many great patriots around the globe are right here to help you, point you in the right direction. Take a look in the description box again for all of your links. The website will be up here in the next day or two. We got the Patreon back up if you want to help support the Patriot Hour. To go to the Patreon, that's down below again. We're going to try to do this full time and do great things, and it's just going to grow and grow. So we got the Patreon back up for a way for those of you who use that to support the channel. All right, I'm Mike. This is a Patriot Hour. God bless, Godspeed to each and every one of you worldwide, and we'll see you back here real soon on the next Patriot Hour update video, where we come at you with all facts. Keep fighting for your freedoms and liberties, and never give anything up to idiots. Because once you give things up to idiots, you can never get them back. Talk to you soon.
Fight for your life.
Ha ha ha.